Hey guys, Nick Morgan from Charlotte Peters Wealth Property and the host of The Local.
Vaughan McVilly, General Manager, Gopher of McVilly Velo Enterprises and McVilly Cafe Cycles.
Well, Vaughan, thanks very much for taking the time out, mate.
Mate, it's a good time of year though, obviously with Dark Park and Dark Mofo happening down here. It keeps a lot of us smaller business going right through the winter, so we're looking forward to another big weekend this weekend.
Yeah, look, it was super impressive, obviously, to come down last week and see what you were doing. Obviously, I've had a bit to do with you over the months, since you opened in October, I think it was.
Yeah.
Obviously, been down over the time, and it was amazing to see you handling. There were lines, way out past here, so that was awesome. So you obviously got to be pleased with that.
Absolutely, yeah. It was exciting times. Our first ever sort of time down here. Obviously, as you said, we opened in October, so our little team of four were run ragged there for a little while, but it's good. It's a bit like the cycling game, isn't it? You got to race to know whether you can win, and sometimes you've got to jump straight in the deep end.
Look, exactly, and I guess baptism of fire. You learn from mistakes, I guess, or and you can only improve from there. So that's cool.
Absolutely.
So I guess obviously the reason for the catch up today is really wanted to try and find out a little bit about you and what got you involved and brought you down back to Tassie to get involved in this and I guess push a small business. So I guess a little bit about you. Born and bred here in Tassie, or?
Well, I was actually born in Western Australia, but
okay.
I moved to Melbourne and moved to Tassie by the time I was 4. So I consider myself as a Tasmanian. The first real house and home I reckon remember is in Tassie.
Yep.
But I was actually born in Perth after because my dad went over there to race, obviously, and then basically grew up here. We had the bike shop in Sandy Bay, in King Street, Sandy Bay, Vaughan McVilly Cycles. Also at the very beginning, actually, we were Dad ran Kensel Cycles, so in the city. So and then Dad opened up his own store. So and then basically grew up here, went to Clarence High School and then St Virgil's College, and before starting my real career, I guess, was with Bob Jane T-Marts. I actually started with them when I was 13 years old, but I ended up working for them for another 13 years and ended up being the state operations manager for them in Melbourne.
Okay, wow, there you go. Pretty diverse, bit of a different industry to obviously the bikes, but at the same time, I can sort of see the crossover there.
Yeah.
But I guess before we progress or digress down that pathway as well, look, tell me a little bit about some of your fondest childhood memories. Obviously, you mentioned your old man, Vaughan McVilly, incredibly successful cyclist, had some great, I think won 2 national titles in the 70s.
Yep.
And then another 2 Herald Sun Tours.
Yeah, so it ended up being 3 Sun Tours, 2 road titles, 2 track titles. So. And I guess just growing up in a bike shop, like I've always loved bikes, and when you grow up in a cycling family and when your dad's a cyclist and you go to races and you're following races and you're sitting in cars for hours and hours and on end, cheering go Dad out the window, and then, Dad having a bike shop, getting to race BMXs, race mountain bikes, ride mountain bikes, do freestyle, jump on the road bikes, and then also, Dad spent a fair bit of time in Europe, so a lot of his mates would come out and visit, and I got to meet some of my, biggest childhood heroes as a young bloke, and that was really inspirational for me. And basically from then on, I just have always loved being on the bike. If ever there's times of trouble or I need to think about something, the best place I can do it is to jump on the bike and go for a ride.
No, look, I completely agree with that, and obviously being a keen cyclist myself, it's such a good way to de-stress, and it takes you such a long way, and it's the people you meet, and it's just fantastic. So no, that's pretty cool, mate. So I think I guess going from there, in regards to you mentioned that you were living in Melbourne. Did you stay there, or did you move about? Or,
well, I stayed in Melbourne for 10 years.
Okay,
I love Melbourne, and really got back into my bikes over there, to be honest. I was with Bob Jane for a long time, and then I left Bob Jane and I opened up my own franchise consultancy, which I ran for 6 years. And so we had an office in Melbourne and an office in Sydney. But during that time also was when around that same time my dad passed away, and I went over to the Tour de France with John Trevorrow, Hiffy, and we filmed the documentary called Detour de France, which was Dan Jones. He just brought out that crazy, fantastic film about Orica Green Edge just recently. And I went over there, and it was sort of me and my dad always said we'd go and do the Tour de France together and ride bikes and have some fun, and of course never got the chance to do that. So I went over with these mad blokes, and that happened, and I got involved with Bianchi bikes at the time, and I guess I came up with an idea called You and I Ride, which was basically an iPod training system. I say iPod, I don't know if you remember what one of those is. I remember the Walkman.
Recollection.
Yeah. So before the iPhone, I had the old iPod. So basically it was an iTunes-based heart rate and cadence sensitive training system where I employed professional cyclists from that era and that time. So Dayton Cook, Simon Gerrans, George Hincapie, to name a few, and they were the voices of your coach. And so I was into the bike game, and of course with Bianchi then moved to Sydney because Bianchi distribution moved from Melbourne to Sydney. So then I spent 9 years in Sydney.
Okay, wow. So you've moved about the place a fair bit, that's for sure. So, and I didn't know that. Like I didn't know those little bits and pieces. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Great that. And yeah, the Tour de France, obviously, definitely a shame that you couldn't do it with your old man.
Absolutely.
But it sounds pretty awesome to get over there and do it with some great mates and I'm sure had an absolute blinder, ripper of a time. I shouldn't say blinder, but yeah, ripper of a time.
They were nice.
Yeah. Okay. I know you like a beer or two, so I'm sure you wouldn't have let that one slip by. So I guess fast forwarding, you've moved back here.
Yep.
As touched on, you started the cafe in October of last year, 2017.
Yep.
I guess talk me through that. What made you come back here? I know you were here a little bit before that, I believe, but
yep.
What made you jump into the spotlight and start a cafe?
Yeah, so back to the Bianchi days, I guess, like in 2010, there was the international business development manager was a guy by the name of Richard Strom. They were looking to take Bianchi on a new direction. I'd come from a franchising background, and in Australia no one was really doing bicycle retail, I thought, that well, and so I developed what now is known as Bianchi Cafe and Cycles. They opened the first one in Stockholm in 2012, but I wrote the operations manuals and the program manuals and I guess the experience model around that. Getting to travel to Italy and then we're also doing some time with Champion System, getting to travel throughout Asia and New Zealand. I'd come back down to Tassie for Christmas, go to Noppies and have a beer and watch people sing and Salamanca go berserk, and then I'd go riding my bike and riding my mountain bike, and I kept on thinking, wow, we've got it all right here at home.
Pretty much do.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I've lived in Melbourne, and I agree. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
This little state that definitely punches well above its
well
weight.
above its weight. Absolutely. And so that was it. It was like one day I was sitting at work going, well, let's not build an experience around a brand. Let's build an experience around a destination. And so McVilly Velo Enterprises was born. Taking that model of the Bianchi Cafe experience, and then adding accommodation, which is another piece of the puzzle that we're trying to develop. We'll try to develop next year, which is 40-foot shipping containers that's on the backside of Mount Wellington at our property over in Leslie Vale, which are bike specific, bike wash out the back, and then also helping develop further trails and infrastructure in Tasmania. We've put up for grants at the last round. We've got some more applications going in the next round to continue to develop the trail network in out of Hobart. I mean, there's not many places in the world you can be off the plane in amazing accommodation like Mako 1 or in and around Hobart, and then be on Mount Wellington in 15-20 minutes, right?
Yeah, an easy 15-minute. Obviously there's a couple of hills involved, but it's not like out of this world. It's you can get there comfortably and
absolutely. So that's what we've been developing. Of course, we also did the heli biking we launched this year, which was a major feat for us. I guess it was very difficult to get across the line. We had to spend a lot of money, and that was thanks to Rotorlift, the guys over at Hobart Airport for partnering us with that and being able to actually be legally allowed to fly bikes on the side of helicopters in Australia, the first people to ever do it. So those experiences that then open Tasmania and Hobart up to the world, and that's where our market is. We're actively trying to get people from Singapore and the UK and the States and Europe to come to Tassie and come to Hobart and experience cycling, food, culture, and fantastic weather.
The balmy weather. Smoking. That's that hot. Mate, that is unreal. And look, I think obviously I completely admire and appreciate what you're doing, and it's pretty impressive. As I touched on, and a lot of people know that I'm a mad keen cyclist, and I just think what an experience. And I know you've flown up to Derby, allowed them to take in those trails. I know you've sort of toyed with the idea of Medina.
Yep.
Obviously potentially getting up to Mount Wellington.
Absolutely. Amazing
places to ride, and I've ridden quite a few places now, and you can't beat a lot of the stuff that we have here in our backyard.
Absolutely. If you think, Medina's arguably one of the best gravity parks in the world right now. Yeah. Derby's arguably one of the best all-day mountain biking for your whole, from novice to fully experienced riders in the world.
You know, they have an EWS round there.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So you've got those sorts of things that you're basically at your back door, and then you've got amazing roads for road riders, and then you've got amazing experiences where there's great food, great cider, great wines, great whiskies and those sorts of things. So there's a whole heap of reasons to go out riding with your friends and your mates or your partner and experience Tasmania and all it has to offer on two wheels.
Exactly right. So I think absolutely exciting times in that arena, and I think I really look forward to seeing what you do. I think that's going to be pretty damn awesome. So I guess honing back in on McVilly Cafe and Cycles, less than a year old. How have you found it? How's Hobart been? Public and people, how have they welcomed you? How's it all gone there?
It's been amazingly positive, but obviously there's always challenges, there's always hurdles. Initially at the very start, we had a group of 26 bikes that arrived, and unfortunately there was an error with all of them. Brand spanking new, we'd paid for them up front. It's a huge investment from me and my partners and my business partners and company. And then we had a fleet of hire bikes that we couldn't hire out. We had tours that we'd booked out in advance. We'd been spruiking it and doing our social media like crazy in the lead up, so we had heaps of people coming, and we couldn't charge them any money, and we couldn't actually provide them the service that we wanted to, which put the business under immense cash flow issues, like really, really hard. Lost some good people in the early staff, and lost staff just for the simple factors I couldn't afford to pay everyone that I'd originally had on board. If those problems hadn't have happened, it would be a different story, but that's small business, I guess. Other issues were just getting, the business open. We were supposed to open in February, and we opened in October. It's a long time to be without a job. I ended up working for my mate Kiffy Weber over at Frank Restaurant, and that was just to make sure that the old bank account kept ticking over while I kept on putting the time and effort into getting around some of the red tape that was there. Hobart City Council was actually fantastic. A lot of people blame the councils these days, but they really tried hard to help me. Mac Point Development Corporation, they were really great. And then the people locally down here, the cyclists, Thursday Worlds, turning up on Thursdays and buying coffees and eating food and staying back late. Hobart Brewing Company next door, making sure that I was well lubricated. No, but seriously, they were great in getting involved with the business and making sure we activated it and got things out there. And then just a lot of the local community and the local hospitality community down here is just amazing how much they'll lend a hand and let you keep the ball rolling.
Well, look, I guess I love to hear positivity absolutely strikes through there. Obviously you did have some adversity and it sounds pretty damn hard early on, but I know that you've been really absolutely just giving it everything, and it's pretty impressive to see, that's for sure. And look, I really hope that it keeps going that way. I think if you keep doing what you're doing, it's only a matter of time before it just keeps building. And it's great to have someone like you around that's pushing the boundaries. I think it's super impressive, mate.
Thanks, mate.
It's cool. So you did touch on accommodation, next year potentially. I guess for the remainder of the year, are there any little projects you're working on?
Through winter down here, obviously it gets cold, and like it does. I talked to all the other hospitality guys, and it's going to be the toughest time. July, August, really cold mornings. Not many people are going to want to come in for a coffee, and so we're going to do a lot of events in July. We're going to do the Tour de France Outdoors dinner. It's going to be held at Susie Lux on the 19th of July. It's going to be amazing. It's going to start at around 7 p.m. Small Island Wines are going to do matching wines, about 5 or 6 glasses of wine over a big spread. We've got Brad McGee, Olympian, wearer of the yellow jersey, a world champion. He's flying down from Sydney to hang out with us on the night. We've got Scotty Bowden, our very own Olympian and Tasmanian mountain biker / roadie, coming along. We're going to have live crosses to the event. It's going to be an amazing night. Everyone's welcome, whether you ride a bike or don't ride a bike. Amazing food, amazing wine, and then we'll be staying up late, beanbags, and watching the great race on the big telly. And we're going to have Brad McGee, Olympian, wearer of the yellow jersey. He's going to come down from Sydney and hang out with us and have dinner with us on one of the nights. And we're also looking to do other events just in and around cycling around Hobart to get people active, get people outside, and just keep the ball rolling. I've been doing Tour de France nights and Paris-Roubaix nights for 15 years in everywhere I lived, mostly because I like to have people around me when I'm watching the good bike race. But honestly, every experience. 2 years ago I did one in Sydney, and just by chance there was 4 of us in the room that rode a bike, and there was 50 people. At the end of that night, 48 people were still in the room. They hadn't got to sort of the midnight where it gets a bit hard and the coffees are running to try and wait until 1 a.m. And we loved it. There's heaps of tactics. The food obviously is always really good, especially with what Susie Lux are doing over there for us. And so it's actually a really good fun event and a fun evening. You get to learn a lot. You get to hear from pro athletes who, at the end of the day, they're just like you and I, right? They're battling to do their job, and they've got experiences and worldly experiences and all sorts of things and great stories, I guess, come out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I am a keen cyclist, so it makes it a bit easier for me to come along, but I'm really looking forward to it. I know, having lived in Melbourne, there was a lot of stuff that, went on, and I went to quite a few events, and it was just awesome. I really look forward to being a part of that, and I hope that, people that may be watching this also make the effort, or get involved. Like, why not? Sometimes it's good to push the boundaries, get outside your comfort zone, and do something that's a little bit different. So
yeah, I think we've all ridden a bike at one stage or another, right? And there's not many people out there that haven't, and it's never too late to even start. Even just a ride from here out to the Mona. Yeah. With your partner, with your family, with your kids. It's a great ride. It's all on a bike path. It's safe. You can have some fun. Get out there if you want to have a glass of wine or go and see something, or hang out with the kids in the park area and then ride back. It's just a good active day. So we're not just about the high level and the sport, I guess, but we're also just about getting people out and riding bikes.
It's a bit of a social outing and just getting the community together and building potentially more friendships. I know from Thursday Night Worlds, our crazy cycling bunch that Cam Worth managed to get fired up again. It's been amazing to meet all the different people. Like, obviously I know Nathan Earl and Scott Bowden and all the high-end boys of the sport, but it's been awesome to meet everyone that loves riding their bikes and just so super passionate. So
absolutely.
What a good I guess what an awesome thing to do. So.
Absolutely. I mean, from that night, I get my osteo is John O'Bird. He's moved from Melbourne now, lives down in Tassie. He's running osteo out of Salamanca there. Like, some of the people that came on that night, like Callum Fag, he made my Tampa for us.
Awesome, he does an amazing job.
He does an amazing job.
For home.
You need to get onto him.
I only thought about that the other day.
So I mean, those friendships, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So that's cool, mate. Well, look, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Look, it isn't the warmest evening, and we're both sitting here, smoking.
It's beautiful. All you internationals, come on down. It's not cold at all.
But amazing, no wind. So what a great place to be. And look, absolutely admire what you're doing.
Thanks.
I look forward to watching it all unfold, and I hope that all the local, the Hobart people, the locals get behind you, and particularly if they've got an interest in cycling, food or wine, maybe they should come along to your night. I think check out your Facebook page.
Check out the Facebook page at McVilly.com. It's all live there now. It's on the 19th of July.
19th of July, okay. And look, I think I just look forward to seeing what you can do, and you've definitely shown that you've got some guts, that's for sure, and you're giving it a red hot crack. So
cool.
No, thanks for your time.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Vaughan.
Cheers.